welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be moving on from last week's video, which was a very small key box because that's all I have the energy for. Something slightly bigger and more like my usual content. So, back to furniture, albeit a small piece of furniture. It's actually this half moon table that I found in a charity shop. It's still got the price sticker on. It was £9.95. I think that's a bargain. They sell pretty well for me. I've sold a couple in the last few months, so I nabbed it while I could. And I'm actually quite intrigued to see how this sands back. Obviously, as you can see, it's quite orangey tone at the minute, and that is just not a desirable wood at all. So it's got some rings on the top, some obviously where stuff's, you know, things have been placed on the top, some ring marks and a bit of damage. So the first thing I'm going to do before I even clean this, I'm going to sand the top just to see what we're playing with. Obviously, I'm going to take the price tag off to begin with. You can see there, £9.95, absolute bargain. So I'm starting off with a 180 grit for this. I've got to be careful because it is a veneered top. But I just wanted to see what would happen when I took off that orange varnish. So 180 grit is what I usually start with. The wood grain's nothing sort of special. There's nothing really amazing about it. It is a veneer, so I've had to be quite careful how much I've sanded. But I wanted to kind of do a stencil on the top of this, but maybe we might have to rethink that. I don't know. Let's see where it goes. As you can tell, I was kind of undecided with what to do with this piece to start off with. I did want to give it a paint and wood stain combination for the top, but I'm going to clean it because we've got to do that before we do anything else. And I don't really give White Lightning Cleaner enough credit or talk about it enough. It is a really, really good furniture cleaner, and cleaning your piece before you paint is one of the things that is essential. It gets rid of anything that's on the surface, and this is a degreasing and deglossing cleaner. So I did decide to try wood stain on the top. I'm going to use a water-based wood stain because I wasn't really sure how this was going to take. So I'm using Voodoo gel stain, and this colour is called Tobacco Road. It's a brown, but it's got no kind of warm tones in it, so I'm hoping it'll cancel out that orange. Now this is a buildable formula, which means the more layers you put on, the more intense the colour goes. So obviously you can see it is kind of got that grey ashy kind of tone. This is the second coat going on, and this is when I thought, yeah, we're gonna go with it, because you can see the top there versus the rest of the piece, how much it's taken that orange away. There is still a little kind of hint of a bit of warmth, but it has pretty much taken it away. So I scuff sanded the rest using a bit of a combination of my electric sander and a bit of hand sanding, and I'm just going to do a really kind of classy, quite simple makeover for this. I just decided keep it simple. It's quite a nice looking piece. It's just the colour throws you because it is so orange, and that makes it look dated. So I'm just going to keep simple for this one. So I'm a big fan of black furniture, but I haven't used this colour for a long time, and this is probably more of a charcoaly grey. It's called Midnight Sky from Dixie Belle Paint. It's part of their chalk mineral paint range, and as you can see, I'm starting underneath. And if you are working with spindles or legs or anything like that, try this technique. Try slapping your paintbrush from side to side with very little paint on, and you will be surprised how well that covers. And if you are doing spindles and stuff, use less paint. So I actually did 3 coats of paint in total on the legs of this, because I prefer to have very, very thin coats. Less is more when you're working with spindles and legs or anything like that at all. Just build up the layers slowly and you will not get any drips or pooling or any problems. So for the top, I'm going to use probably my second favourite stencil. I'm sure by now you all know what my favourite stencil is. I could have quite easily used that on this piece, but I thought we'd change it up and do something different. So this one's called Retro Lattice. You can see how well it's used, and I'm using the Best Dang brush. So you've seen how I've used other Dixie Belle brushes for stenciling, perhaps more delicate or smaller areas to stencil. This is obviously a big stencil. It's got quite a large pattern and it's a repeat pattern, so there's no kind of delicate little bits that I need to get into. So the Best Dang brush for speed is brilliant, and it's also got a flat surface. It's not like a domed or a pointed tip to the brush, so that means it is perfect for stenciling. So I'm just going to stencil this in Midnight Sky, which is obviously the same colour that I've used on the legs and the rest of the piece, and then I'm going to use Best Dang wax in brown all over. Obviously the top, it's going to be obvious that I've used brown wax because I've got a stain finish. This is just going to kind of give a little bit more richness and depth to that top, but I'm also going to use Best Dang wax on the legs and the rest of the piece. And you might think it wouldn't work with using brown wax over this dark colour paint, but brown wax over black or a charcoal sort of grey is really effective. It's very, very subtle, but it does add a warmth to that tone a little bit. It looks really nice. It gives it kind of more of a vintagey feel. So you can see I am just slathering it all over. And obviously this isn't what it's going to look like when it's finished, because when you use wax, what you absolutely must do is make sure you buff the excess off. That's going to stop it from being tacky, and I'm going to show you real time how long it takes to buff wax off the top of this. So I'm using a microfiber cloth. The nice thing about Dixie Belle's Best Dang wax is that it's water based, which means you can reuse the cloths. You can chuck them in the washer and reuse them. And I am just using a bit of elbow grease and just rubbing it until it's nice and smooth. You don't want to feel any kind of tackiness to the surface. And sometimes what I will do is give it the initial buff and then go back the next day and buff it again with a clean dry cloth. I've sped it up a little bit because it would be a video that probably lasted, you know, 20 minutes or half an hour of just me buffing wax out. But as you can see, it's going to take the excess off, and it just leaves you with kind of like a warm kind of glow to the dark colour paint. It is very, very subtle, but I really like the finish. As always, I'm going to show you a few close-ups. It's just a super simple makeover for this, but I did obviously put a little bit of a Faff Designs twist on this with the stencil top. A few close-ups, and here is the finished piece. As always, thank you for watching the video. It's probably going to be my last video of the year, so thank you for watching, and thank you for following along if you've been here a while or if you've only been here a week. And I will catch you next year. Happy Christmas. Bye.